you see any overspray?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
For everybody that talks about clogging the radiator, all I can tell you is that welcome to the channel. I'm Dave and this is Road Garage, and this is my 2006 Z06 Corvette wide body candy apple red. One of the first things I want to talk about with this Z06 of mine is how long have I had it and all of that. So I bought this back in 2016. A little bit of the story behind getting it is it had been a while since I had any sort of like cool, fun project car. Business had started to get better and I was getting to that point where I was able to now pull the trigger on something. I'd been looking at a few different cars. I was looking at maybe doing like a Shelby Mustang. It was this, even a supercharged Camaro. I was really wanting something to be able to run around the track out here with my brother. He was actually an instructor out here at our local track, and we found out that he had stage 4 cancer. I decided, literally I think it was within about a week of him getting that diagnosis, that I was just gonna pull the trigger and try and get what time we had left, go and have some fun, make some memories, being able to do that. So as I was looking at cars, I found this car on eBay. So I originally bought this car for $25,000, and other than seeing some pictures and hearing some videos of it running, I'd never actually driven the car. It was a little bit nerve-wracking sending over a cashier's check on a car that I had not driven yet. Had it shipped over, and the first time I had ever driven it or even seen it in person was when it actually got delivered. Took it for a drive. I was pleasantly surprised that I had not bought a total pile of crap, and literally that weekend I was out at the racetrack with my brother. I think I was doing on the straightaway, I think 145, 150 on some really hard Continental tires it came with. I mean, it was bad. It was all chattering around corners and stuff, but having a good old time. Fast forward, it's about a year and a half-ish that my brother passed away. We'd had some fun with it, running around the track. I really didn't do much of anything to the car. In between that time period, I was just using it, having fun with it, and just driving it around. It was super fun, even just having something fun again to drive around and play around with. I really wanted to do a build on the car. So the original plan was to just paint it, maybe do a little bit of performance mods. I had bought a rear mount twin turbo setup, which is what's on here now. I was gonna clean it up, paint it, get it so it was a nice clean looking car, making a little more power but with the stock engine. Got going on all of that. As I got into that, I met now a good friend of mine, but this was the first time I met him. I was selling him just my mufflers, and he came over to the house and he's like, hey, I got a built motor for one of these. And I'm like, really? I'm like, this motor has like 80,000 miles on it and I'm gonna boost it. I probably need to freshen it up. Ended up making a deal with him and got this engine. So this engine is a Warhawk block, so it's a World Products Warhawk LS7 with full forged internals, a lower 9.5 to 1 piston. So it was in a turbo Corvette. It was in a C6 Z06 before that it got wrecked. I saw some dyno videos of it making, I think it was around 1,500 horse, as well as a Wilson's intake that has that cool Dallas performance on it. It has a RPS triple disc carbon clutch that I think is good to 1,200 horse, 1,300 horse. So the fuel system I have on this is a triple pump setup that's staged. So the primary pump is a Hellcat pump, and then I have two Deechwork 300s as my secondary pumps that kick on at 3 psi boost. So as soon as it starts making any boost, those kick on. On the engine side of it, I have a Dash 8 feeding, full billet fuel rails, so the fueling is well sufficient for the twin turbo setup. Body and paint. So I did this California Customs wide body. I did a ton of work with fitting them, getting all of the wide body fenders all fit right and equal. My fiberglass hood, the way that I originally got it, it had a ton of waves in it. The vents themselves were all distorted in that, so I spent a ton of time and a ton of work reworking all of the vents. The color is a House of Color Candy Apple Red. It is not a wrap, and it took me about 1.5 years. It did not take me 1.5 years because I was working on it for the full 1.5 years. It took me the 1.5 years because I would get at times so frustrated with it, I needed to just kind of like set it aside and let it sit for a little while. It took me a little bit, but I did do it myself, and I do love the way that it turned out, and at least I've got some reward for the hours and hours and hours of work. On the interior of the car, I actually got these cool Z06 seats. I got an interior out of another car. I got the center console. I got the different steering wheel, as well as the door panels that all matched. I'm actually working on the leather wrap dash as well that matches everything else so that it's all cohesive. But my seats before, they were pretty hammered. The bolsters were completely flat. These have this kind of Alcantara in the middle. They're super comfortable. I can do long drives with it. But the old seats were so hammered and slippery, when I would go race it, I would slide around in the seat. These seats, I absolutely love them. I thought it really added to updating this car. I mean, it's an older car. It's a 2006, so it had been well loved, to say the least, before I got it. So one of our recent adds to the Corvette is these oil coolers. So we actually more recently finished this, probably within the last month. We have a short that's out right now that is actually one of the best shorts that we've had go out on the channel so far, and that's really awesome. But everybody really has some very strong opinions about me goofing off and basically painting the front with it here, and there's no overspray, and I actually haven't even buffed this. I knew I was going to be putting this on, so I didn't really care anyway. And I do all my own buffing, and I know how to fix it. And for everybody that talks about clogging the radiator, this isn't powder coat. I didn't like rhino line the front of these radiators or anything. And it's literally just a light coat on the front. Whatever efficiency it may or may not have lost from said paint, all I can tell you is that it took my oil temps from 240 to 250 degrees to 170 to 180, which is exactly where I was trying to get my oil temps down to. So I thought it looked better with the black paint. It's my car. I'm running with it. If you guys think I'm an idiot for doing it, I guess so be it. Wheel and tire package. So I have a staggered setup. So it's a 20 by 12.5 in the back and a 19 by 10 in the front. These were originally like a matte black. If you look at some of my earlier videos, these were a matte black. So they're a Cray wheel. Really love the way they look. I love the design, but that black that we had them, I felt like it just kind of washed out the wheel. They just kind of disappeared. You didn't really see the pattern. You didn't really see any of that. And my biggest thing of not doing the white was them getting dirty quick and easy, which I was absolutely right with that. We drive it anywhere with these steel brakes, and yeah, they get dirty pretty quick. I do really love the way that they look. I thought it turned out really awesome, and it really made the car pop even more than it already did with the candy paint. And tire-wise, I'm running Cup 2 tires. So in the back, we've got a 345/30/20 super wide, super fat tire. It still has a hard time getting traction. I think at some point when we change these out, I'll probably try and possibly go with like an R888, see if that's any better. That's what we have on the Lambo, and they really work pretty awesome. But it does give it a really cool look that I like. My turbo system is a rear mount STS system. On this, I also get some pretty strong opinions as well. And the biggest question that I get is, man, isn't there a bunch of lag? No. I have front mount setups. I have rear mount setups. It's more about sizing the turbo right. If you have a really small engine and an engine that doesn't make a lot of power NA, it's gonna have turbo lag if you're trying to make big power. This engine by itself, without turbos, makes around 650 plus horse. without even this. So it gets these turbos wicked up quick. If I jump on it at about 3,500 RPM, the boost is pretty instant. And frankly, with how much power this car makes and being rear wheel drive, it actually, a little bit of lag is kind of good because it gets everything rolling. I'm not into drag racing or really even roll racing. I'm just out having fun. The intake temps on a rear mount setup are amazing. You don't have to have as big of an intercooler setup. I don't know, a lot of people have strong opinions about it. I personally love the setup. The plan is with this is to actually do larger turbos. So these turbos are gonna end up going on my Celine Mustang and making that twin charge. Rick over at STS is hooking me up with that and helping me. He's got a pair of turbos that he's used that we're gonna do. They're good for about 1,500 horsepower. And I'm looking to just get somewhere right around 1,000 at the tires. These turbos with the wastegates basically shut off. The most boost that they'll make on this engine's 10 pounds. We put 800 horsepower at the tires on it, so it's right about 1,000 at the crank. So for the last couple little things on the car that I've done to it, the headlights. Originally, when I was thinking about doing the build and kind of getting into it, I was not gonna mess with some of this other stuff, but these Morimoto headlights, when I got them on, it really updated the look of the car. I think it really makes it look awesome. I'm really glad that I ended up doing they are kind of pricey, but I thought it really kind of polished off the look of it. Brakes and suspension. I do have the stock Z06 brakes, but they are the aftermarket rotors, so it does have a 3-piece rotor on it. Nothing crazy. I do hope to, especially with these white wheels, get a set of ZR1 brakes and rotors. Go with ceramic, and I think that would help me with the dust. Still has the stock leaf spring and shocks in it. I will probably at some point do some coilovers. Right now it rides pretty nice. It's pretty cushion. It does handle good. So right now I'm gonna leave that alone. But that's about it. That is the build. All right, so we are gonna be headed off to Orem here. We're doing a trunk or treat. We're taking this and the Lambo. My son's actually gonna be driving this. We'll take you along. We'll see you over there. All right, so we're here at Redline Racing here in Orem, Utah, and we'll kind of finish off our showcase of this twin-turbo Z06 Corvette. So I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.